Okay. I'd like to call our meeting to order, please. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as presented? None. Hearing none, we'll accept them as presented. Open forum. Wow, what a crowd tonight. At this time, we'd like to give our audience an opportunity to ask any questions about this agenda or about operations within the school district. Personnel matters will not be addressed in public session. Comments may be recorded and responded to by the Board of Education or the superintendent within 24 to 48 hours. We ask that you introduce yourself to the board, state if you are a district resident, and that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Hearing none. And then at this time, we'd like to give any representative from the Trumansburg Teachers Association an opportunity to ask questions about this agenda or about operations within the school district. And again, personnel matters will not be addressed in public session. Any members of the TTA present that would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll extend the same offer to the support staff bargaining unit members. If there are any members from the support staff that would like to ask questions about district operations, it's an opportunity to do so. Hearing none. Moving on to item 6, agenda changes. None. Okay. All right. Public hearing for Smart Schools Bond. Smart Schools Bond approval, whereas in January 2014, Governor Andrew Cuomo called for New York State to invest $2 billion in its schools through a Smart Schools Bond Act, and whereas voters approved the Smart Schools Bond Act in the statewide referendum held in 2014, a general election day, Tuesday, November 4th, 2014, and whereas the Smart Schools Bond authorized the issuance of $2 billion of general obligation bonds to finance improved education, technology, and infrastructure, to improve learning and the opportunity for students throughout the state. And whereas the Central School District of the Trumansburg Central School District was allocated to receive $1,122,428. And whereas aligned with the Central School District of Trumansburg, the 2017 Instructional Technology Plan adopted by the board on April 16, 2018, the Central School District of Trumansburg's Smart Schools Investment Plan is designed as follows. Whereas Trumansburg Central School District Smart Schools Bond Act Investment Plan is to be submitted to the State of New York Education Department for review and approval by the Smart Schools Review Board. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Central School District of Trumansburg be and hereby approves the Central School District of Trumansburg final Smart Schools Bond Act Investment Plan, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. May I have the motion?
I move.
Second? Second, okay. Discussion, and I think this is public's final opportunity to discuss any questions or concerns that they might have with this. A very quiet audience tonight. Any questions from members of the board? A quick translation.
Yeah,
Ms. Bell.
so actually, if you just go to the previous page, you can see the areas where we plan to invest. So data room improvements, cabling replacement, wireless network upgrades, connectivity, pre-K classrooms, and IP security cameras is where we intend to designate that $1.1 million investment.
Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. And now we come to both joyful and somewhat sorrowful time in our agenda, awards and recognitions. We'd like to recognize the following people who are retiring. Susan Frost, music teacher for the past 25 years of service to the Trumansburg School District. So I saw you earlier, Susan, thank you right there. Okay. To spend some time sharing thoughts?
Sure. So it's hard to put into words what Susan has been doing for our students and our staff for the past 25 years. She has provided an amazing general music experience for our students, an amazing chorus experience that incorporates just about all of the students, so she'll end up with groups of about 120. And the absolutely amazing musical that she puts on with the students, where any student who's interested can have a part. It's open to everyone. And it really is remarkable to see the effect it has on students to be able to perform and to show their skills in a way that might be different in our typical classrooms. And she provides that for our students and brings it out for them. So our students who were in the musical this year had an opportunity to thank her, and they made her a quilt out of previous musical t-shirts, because as you know, we have a t-shirt for each musical. So that was amazing, and at her final choral concert last week, the music department presented her with beautiful flowers and cards from kids. And I will just say that the elementary students will be thanking her as well, but you're going to have to wait to see how. So Susan, just on behalf of the staff and the students and the families, thank you so much. Thank you's not enough.
I will say that your president of the board was one of the ones who hired me originally.
Nicely done.
Very true. Thank you. And next, Russell Hughes, groundsman for our district for the past 30 years. And we're missing him sorely already, I think. Joe, I don't see Russell in the audience tonight.
Nope, I couldn't agree with you more. We've got some newer grounds members now, and you know, what Russ did for the district, it really shows now, and you know, he's sorely missed. And you know, it's funny because people around the bus garage call him Mr. Grumpy, and I've seen him a couple times since, and he's Mr. Happy now.
Yes.
He's in a good place. And, you know, I think maybe I might be able to convince him to sub, probably not. But I would love to have him back. I mean, he was steady Eddie. You know, he always knew exactly what he needed to do, and he always did the work. And, you know, I certainly miss him. I really do. He was a good guy, and I like to see him around. And, you know, we joke about some of the challenges that we had before. But yeah, I miss Russ. He's a great guy, and I wish him all the best in retirement.
Well, I will echo your thoughts. He's my neighbor. I have to go past his house usually to come into town. He does look extraordinarily happy, but you'll be happy to know that he's practicing on 2 lawns to keep those mowed, and he's even going on the diagonal now, so that's setting the standard a little too high for Grand Road.
Too much time on his hands.
And next, Sara Cipher, middle school nurse for the past 14 years, and another person that I helped hire. So, yeah. So I can say that Sara just added a whole nother dimension to our nurse's office, and her ability to know students on an individual basis and really have that personal caring touch made it just, I think, an extra reassuring place for students to go. Always felt welcome and comfortable, even if their headache wasn't real at that moment. Sara took care of them and then definitely got them back to class. And that, so I thank you, and I thank you as a grandparent for taking care of Katie these past 3 years. So I know that you'll be missed.
Gotta echo Gary's sentiments, and having a member of what I would consider my inner team. And Sara is one of those members that is there through all of the events of the building. And walk into the main office any day and you can see the impact she has on the students because they're lining up at her door. Right, wrong, or indifferent, just because they feel that they need those couple minutes with Sara. So I'm going to miss encouraging her to go home. It's the curse of being close by.
Yeah.
But now she's going to be home, and I hope that on the drive in and out of work every day, I see Sara outside enjoying her time, and maybe she can convince Tim to follow. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you, Sara. Would you like to say a few words, Sara, or we don't want to deprive you of the opportunity?
Oh, that's fine.
Oh. I thought maybe, but. And then another one, person off of Joe's team, Betty Jean Smith, our custodian in the district for the past 20 years of service. And talk about a person who was even smiling while they were working and always greeted everyone and was right there to help Betty Jean for her 20 years of service to our district and making things look great.
Where do I begin? I think everybody here's life has been impacted by Betty Jean at one point or another. If you've ever been at the high school on the weekend, Betty Jean has been here for all of our events. She cleaned the high school for many, many years. She cleaned the middle school, the elementary school, and occasionally the bus garage. She'd throw in a clean for the bus garage every once in a while. I threw some numbers together just to show the impact. So on average, a cleaner cleans about 30,000 square feet per night, per shift. That's the schedule that we have for most of our cleaners. If an average employee works about 250 days, times the 20 years of service, it's 150 million square feet. So on average, a house is about 2,000 square feet, so that's 75,000 houses that Jean has cleaned in her entire career, and about 80,000 emails to me in the last 4 years of weekends. So I could always guarantee that Monday morning I was going to have at least one email, if not 2 or 10, from Betty Jean, and a couple of phone calls, and even in the end she started texting me. So, but you couldn't ask for a better person, a more reliable person, and thank you, because you made my life so much easier.
We all know. That's what they did. I truly love working for Trumansburg School and all of you guys, and some of you more than you'll ever know. I truly miss my coaches, and my one favorite coach is here tonight, so I got extra hugs in. I see some of my other coaches down at the park, so we get to talk all the time. I miss my kids, I miss my weekends, but I've loved everything that I have been here and everyone here, and all the help that some of you have given me over the years when we've been shorthanded has been greatly appreciated. And I also want to comment that Russ is doing great because Russ and I were out for lunch and drinks the other day. Russ is one of my buds. You got to get to know Russ. He's a very lovable guy, just like I am. But when we tell you we're in a bad mood, it means no thanks. He is doing great and couldn't be here tonight. I want to thank you all again so much.
And now for board members who are retiring, Michelle Wright, I don't know what we did, maybe be my vice president was the straw that broke the camel's back, but after 3 years of service to the district, and we'd like to thank her for her service and her help in organizing the board and getting us more focused on community relations and communicating with our constituents. So thank you, Michelle. You definitely will be missed.
We would just like to thank Michelle for her generous contributions over the past 3 years. It was wonderful having someone so close to having been a student on the board, a different perspective, and someone who, there you go, was just wonderful to have in the community. So we're here to honor your years as a board member. I think a lot of people don't really realize the amount of time and energy that's spent in preparing for board meetings and just being a board member in general. To be an effective school board member, it requires qualities such as commitment, study, like doing your homework, working with others, and perseverance. Most importantly, it's important to keep the best interests of students in mind, and that's something Michelle has just been wonderful at doing with us. So your fellow members in New York State, just want to thank you very, very much for all you have dedicated to this board, and it's been a pleasure having you on the board. You'll be missed. And come back and visit.
And then our last retiree, Douglas Ann Land, for 27 years of service on the Board of Education. Yes, this is proportional. When Douglas first ran for the board, rumor has it that a number of people voted for her thinking that Douglas was a man, and at that point there were no women on the board and had not been, and were then mighty surprised to find out that, we have the other gender represented now, and obviously has set a trend because there are 6 women and only 1 influence, Douglas. And I'd like to have Mr. Lawrence Lyon is here from the New York Central School Boards Association to present Douglas, I think with a token appreciation for her years, decades, literally, of service to the Trumansburg School District, and not only our school district, but Douglas has been extraordinarily active on the state and national level also. So she has really gone above and beyond her obligation just to us. So, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Lawrence Lyon. I am, as is Doug, a director of the Central New York School Boards Association, which is an association of about 50 districts, 4 BOCES, which comprise what is called a Joint Management Team, JMT. And it's been a pleasure to serve with Douglas Ann Land on that board. Where do you start? Do you start with NYSBA, you know, representing Area 4, while on these other boards? Well, it's really, the list is exhausting. So I need to maintain my energy for my own board meeting shortly and enjoy it. So, Douglas, I want you to know that your fellow school board members in these many tens of districts respect your service and appreciate it. And I don't really see you as a shrinking violet who is going to just kind of disappear, even though you are retiring from this board. So I anticipate further interaction with you. Douglas, having generously surrendered the mug that she stole for herself from the Central New York School Board Association, I'm replacing it with one from us. I also want to honor Michelle. Coming on the board and immediately getting on the policy committee is a brilliant move. It's a great introduction to board service because, as some say, the main job of a school board is to make policy and to hire a superintendent. Those are the two central things that a board does. And so you dove into policy right away, and then also giving impetus to the creation of the Community Engagement Committee, which will outlive your service on the board. I just want to commend you for your service and say how much it benefits all of us. So, pleasure to be here this evening. Thanks so much for these moments. And
Thank you.
I'll make my...
We're going to have a little celebration. You can stay and have that. Driving will allow you to come
Cake
late.
versus board responsibility.
Yeah. Should be an easy decision.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
When you take a look at all the years that have been contributed to the health and wealth of the Trumansburg School District, we decided we wanted a visual aspect of it. So you see before you 30 bedding plants that are for our friend Douglas here, so she will forever remember us. And the only thing we forgot was to bring a trade and a spal and some volunteers to help her put it on. Thank you. I'll be there. Thank you, Douglas.
So before we adjourn for some celebration, I believe there's cake and that and punch right there. Yes. I think if I did my math right, 119 years of service to our district among the people that are retiring this evening. It's just an extraordinary amount, and I think speaks to their commitment to our district and our students in this community. So once again, to all of you, thank you so much for your service, and we hope that you enjoy a long and healthy retirement. Lead the way to refreshments?
Of course.
People, please join us. You don't have to speak. Yeah.
So I know we're looking at some grants from Pam regarding that. And we also were able to send, well, I don't know how many have signed up, but we are covering the registration for teachers to go to a gardening symposium at Cornell in July that combines gardening and horticulture with educational initiatives like socio-emotional learning, project-based learning, a bunch of different STEM activities. So teachers can sign up, go to that symposium, and take whatever courses they want over those few days. So that's, I think last I knew we had about six people signed up for that. These are really just some pictures regarding the grants. We have supported the robotics team over the years, and I'm sure you all know they're amazing. Most recently, they submitted a grant for a 3D printer, and so they got the printer, and Roy sent us the most wonderful report about everything that they've done with it. He said we use it every day, so that's really exciting. There were sing-song music classes in the pre-K this year that the students and teachers absolutely love. And then here's a picture of the hoop house. Lots going on with the locavore club in the middle school. These are our Discovery Trail sites. I'm not going to read the list to you, but you can see where all the kids go. And here's just a few pictures from some of them. One of my favorites to highlight is the 8-square schoolhouse. This is one where actually parents are not encouraged to join the students because they really want it to be authentic. So the kids go in, they're dressed in 19th century clothing, and they have a really strict teacher. They often come back and say, like, wow, she was really strict. I had to follow directions and write on a chalkboard. I'm going to try to sneak in next year and go when my son's in 4th grade, but that's just, and the pictures that come out of that one just are fabulous. So now I'm going to turn it over to Meg to talk about a few more of our programs.
I'll let you be the expert clicker. You can stay on it.
Joint effort.
Exactly. I'll take advantage of her
While you're
previous
talking about the Troubadour, I'm
experience.
going to pass them out, though.
So the Trumansburg Troubadour is a student-led newspaper. We currently have an intern from Ithaca College who comes in and works with students starting in grade 4 all the way up. We encourage students to submit articles, and often the ideas come from within the school community about what students can write about. Our distribution is vast. We hand them out to local businesses, and they go home with every student. This is actually an issue from last spring, just to give you an idea of the kind of articles that are covered.
Another issue's coming in, hopefully before the end of the school year.
This spring issue literally is on its way to the printer tomorrow morning, so tomorrow's a busy day for us. And we're looking at ways to expand circulation by getting a new digital format that we'll be able to share more on social media and via email with other district residents and parents. Youth Art Month is a really interesting part of what we do. It actually started as a grant, which Molly talked about earlier, and we funded it every year, and we decided that it should actually become a sustaining program. So now every year we fund Youth Art Month. We work closely with teachers in all 3 buildings. They have the art show at the end of the month, and then they also help us collect art for our community art auction. The community art auction started off being held in the cafeteria at the high school, which at the high school. And as nice as a space as it is, we decided that we would maybe take our mission out to the community. So this year was the 2nd year that we held the event at the Trumansburg Conservatory instead. This year we raised over $3,000 from auctioning off community and student artwork. So I think that event will continue to grow in the future.
We'd love for you to join us. It's a party.
Kids Quiz Bowl, this was the 2nd year that we ran that event. It's not a fundraiser, it's really just a fun family event to bring elementary and middle school families out to Atlas. We've worked with some of the teachers on curriculum-based questions for this event, and it's just a way for us to raise awareness within the school of who we are as the foundation. Something we still struggle with is that we find that parents don't really understand who we are or what we do, or they think we're you. So we're slowly working on that. And in the last year, we've started the wellness program, looking at ways that we can improve nutrition and raise awareness of things like that in the district. One of the really fun things that we funded this year was the Rainbow Salad Days in the elementary school. I actually went in and helped. So I think I was here when you accepted the donation, but all children were invited to have a salad, and we would pay for it. So if they were already buying lunch, they could add a salad to their plate, and if they weren't, they could go and get a separate salad. And we just encouraged them. The original concept was to get them to try 3 things and they would get a sticker. We quickly said one thing, one thing, and you can have a sticker. But it was a great way for them to sort of experience something different, and we're hoping to work on some other ways that we can do some taste testing and experience food in that way.
All right, so this last slide is just ways to get involved. Not necessarily directed to you, but Some of them are, and then some is just a great way, if you could just spread the word about opportunities to get involved. Obviously, donate. If you go to our webpage, you'll see a big donate button. It's right there. We've made it really easy. Like us on Facebook. We really are trying to get our Facebook page with more followers, because as soon as one person shares an event, then a whole other network of people sees it. So if you haven't done that, please do go to Facebook and follow our Facebook page. We've got a lot of committees that people can get involved in. There are some people who love what the foundation does. They're not going to come to an 8 a.m. meeting every third Tuesday of the month, but they're going to show up at events or to take photos or to wrap books or all the many things we do. And then sometimes they do decide to join the board. So we're always looking for new board members, people who really just want to get involved. Those two down there were really for the Rotary Club. But we're always looking for partners to help us sponsor some of our expenses. Our student advisor has a stipend. And the KDT books have often been picked up by the PTO. So that's another thing that we're always looking for partners for those two pieces. And then one thing we wanted to ask you specifically is if there's someone on the board who would like to be a guest at our meetings on Tuesday mornings. It's the third Tuesday. It's from 8 till 9. We meet in the Curiosity Center in the elementary school. And we'd love to have a board member just to hear what we're doing and just kind of have that connection. So if there's someone, if you want to talk about it and send me a name, we'd love to just have you on our invite list. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your hard work and generous donations. Good thinking. Correspondence? We had an email correspondence from May, a parent concerned about actually a receipt of another previous correspondence that was, I guess, extolling the virtues and assets of robotics. And this parent had a concern. The original email had sort of drawn a parallel between robotics and athletics, and was extolling the many positive virtues of robotics, and that maybe it didn't come with quite the amount of baggage in terms of competitiveness and unsportsmanlike conduct that some athletic contests come with. The parent was concerned that the board was endorsing the previous correspondence, and was making a case that we should be encouraging students to participate in all forms of extracurriculars. So we wanted to make sure that, and I think we've been delinquent, I'll take responsibility for that, and I apologize to not replying to this person, but the board was merely presenting correspondence that a robotics parent had shared with us. It was not an endorsement of what the content of the link, the website link was saying, nor was it certainly any comparison or favoritism to robotics over athletics. So we will formally reply to the parent and convey that message. And then our second correspondence dealt with a personnel matter, and we will have the superintendent reply to that concerned parent or grandparent. Okay. Committee reports, policy committee. We are at the second reading and adoption of board policies. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education for the Trumansburg Central School District hereby approves the second reading and adoption of the board policies titled Policy Number 6212 for Certification and Qualifications, Policy 6550 Leaves of Absence, Policy number 7243, military recruiters and institutions of higher learning. Policy number 5712, student physicals. Policy 7513, medication and personal care items. And policy number 8240, instruction in certain subjects. May I have a motion for adoption on those? And a second? Second reading and adoption, yes. Second?
Second.
Okay. Questions or discussion for our policy committee members on any of those specific ones?
Joanna's on the policy committee, right?
Yes.
Sara, Sarah's not. I'm just wondering, because they're not here. If they had any,
Yeah.
if they had any concerns, they would have brought them forward.
No, but for the second reading, that was something that we had discussed the last time, and we just basically said, okay, most of them are minor changes, or just updating, and you're going to see significantly more, unfortunately, more policy review, because we have, the policy committee has chosen to take a look at some of the older policies and to make sure that we're still in line with them, because some of them have not been reviewed since 2009. And occasionally there's no change, but I still think it's a really good idea for us, for the entire board, to put their eyes on the policy that they are responsible for. No. But in this particular case, anything for the second reading, I don't have any concern to you. No.
Just while we're on it, thank you, Jane. I know that, and all the members of the policy committee for the extraordinary amount of time and effort they put into this on what I think most of us would consider very tedious work.
Oh, but we're geeks. We have no problem.
So we thank you for your efforts, and I think it's great that you now have the board on a rotation so that we're looking at these at minimally every 5 years.
Yeah,
So
it'll take a while to get sort of caught up. And some of them are with no change whatsoever. It will be simple to be able to just review them.
Right.
But there are, for instance, the one that for a first reading, but this particular meeting really did have change in terms, and would have significantly impacted us had we not caught it.
Right.
And well done, Kimberly. I think Joe probably helped on that too.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And then you may have a motion for first reading of the following board policies. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education for the Trumansburg Central School District hereby approves the first reading of the board policies titled Policy 6560, Employment as a Substitute, and Policy 6470, Staff Use of Computerized Information Resources, Acceptable Use Policy. Motion. Second? Questions or discussions initially on either one of these? Okay. So one of these was the rate that we were paying substitute.
That's correct. So employment as a substitute, at one of our most recent board meetings, we have increased the rate for a substitute bus driver to $25 per hour, looking at that as a per diem rate, which means the individual is not eligible for benefits. And employment as a substitute, this policy states that on the 20th day, the individual substituting goes on contract, and at that time they're eligible for benefits. We had a situation where at one point the per diem rate was, the contract rate was less than the per diem rate, but not significantly. So there was a one-time change where we had said if the per diem rate is higher, we would allow the employee to stay at the per diem rate. So we have added language to this to say with the exception of sub-bus driver pay. If we were to keep the employee at the per diem rate and say they went on contract for the entire year for a long-term substitute position, they would in fact be making more than some of our long-term employees. And once they're eligible for benefits, they're technically not per diem. So we would like them to shift back to the contractual rate. And that's where this language is coming from.
Okay, Great, thank you. Any other questions or concerns for this reading? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Facilities Committee report? We did not, no. So,
They did not meet today,
CSD did not, okay. Douglas, the final Central School Board's report or BOCES report?
I will do that. I think the first thing I'd like to report is that Jane George gave one of the most, and her students, pardon me, gave one of the most amazing presentations I have ever heard on the Global Humanism Program and their experiences in DC. It was truly phenomenal.
This was to Central New York?
This was to, no, not Central New York. This is each district. Yeah, each district does a presentation every year. We've done one every year. And I had really wanted to give the Global Humanism a chance to shine because it's such an amazing program. The kids were so incredibly articulate, it just blew everyone away. It was amazing how much they knew and understood about plastics in the environment and, dead spots in the sea. And to me, it's just been fascinating because on the internet recently, there have been a lot of things focusing on that specific issue, and these kids knew it top to bottom. It was just inspiring, and they did speak so clearly and so beautifully. And it was one of our students who actually wound up sort of monitoring the entire event. She was in charge. So our kids are so able and so ready and so willing and enthused about what they're learning. It was just a joy to listen to. So that was fun. Okay, we are beginning to line up CAD classes with TC3 credit. So, and at this point in time, it looks as if we have around 80 credits worth of classes, which can help our kids catch up in a given field or investigate a given field if they happen to be interested in that as a profession. Considering we are looking at purchasing an adjoining lot of land that belongs to Cornell at the moment, and creating a new administration building there, and then turning the current administration building into program building. Let me see. Oh, and great news on the BOCES front. On Thursday, Julie Marlett from NYSBA announced that, believe it or not, after 12 years, I think, of working on this, the long-awaited BOCES DS salary cap has been addressed, which is, in my mind, somewhat of a miracle. It's been forever. So that will make a huge difference to our BOCES staff. And let's see, finally, let's see. There is a hot dog, what's known as Hot Dog Day at BOCES, and it's the end of the year recognition picnic. It's June 22nd at noon in the Smith Building. Everyone is invited if you're interested in going. It's always a lot of fun. And they'll be doing service awards, and retirements will be celebrated just as we did here tonight. Then, I think that's about it, actually. We're in good shape.
Well, great, thank you very much. And
You're welcome.
thank you for your many years of reporting for Central
been
School
fun.
Boards Association and for BOCES. And for BOCES, you're going to continue?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Administrators report. You want to introduce these?
Lauren's going to speak to us this evening about the New York State charitable contribution.
I thought about just telling you, and then I said at the last minute, a visual's sometimes a little easier to understand. what this entails is creating an intermediary charitable fund for the purposes of more or less circumventing the itemized deduction limitations that are now in place under the federal laws. So what the state of New York has done is come up with a plan that allows individuals to pay their tax bill into a charitable fund. The charitable fund gives the money to the school district. The charitable fund gives the taxpayer a voucher, and from that voucher you take it to the school district, and you're supposed to get a 95% credit against your taxes. So first thing to remember is it's not 100%. And the second thing is that you have to submit the forms back to the school district to get credit on time for your bill. This is on hold across the state. Some districts have approached it and may be moving forward, but most of the advice at this point in time is to hold tight because the IRS has not yet ruled this is a legitimate charity or how they feel about these charitable funds in general. There's a similar one being set up or has been set up for, the guidelines have been set up for the state income tax because it falls under the same federal restrictions as your federal, state, local. All of your taxes are now in a big bucket and limited to the $10,000. So significant number of taxpayers, especially downstate, exceed that in a heartbeat. So it'll be interesting to see where this falls. At this point in time, I wouldn't recommend doing anything until we get further guidance. So it's just a very brief outline. I sent you the outline if you want to read it. They still have a lot more guidelines and questions to answer. And they're working on it. Come on.
Questions?
Now that we can understand.
I think we'll stay out of the politics of this one, maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, this is what's generating this is the new federal tax.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's definitely a reaction to the limitations from the federal government. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And then, Jeannie?
Sure, I can give you an update on UPK.
Oh, yes, please.
So we pulled the names for the lottery, and we have filled all 3 classrooms, so we are full. Since then, we have one family who has come to apply, and they are on a waiting list. So that's where we are at.
And what's the trend been over the course of the past couple of years? I know it's not a huge amount of data in terms of people who have registered at this point and then don't actually enroll a student because they've moved or other circumstances have changed.
Usually, from now until the end of August, we'll probably lose 2 or 3, and we usually have about 10 register.
Okay.
So I think we'll end up with more, but because word was out that people needed to get their things in, they might have been a little bit, more timely with it. So it might be that we just have a couple who move or decide to keep their child home for another year, and then we'll be able to take in the kids on the waiting list.
So there's one student on the waiting list right now?
Yeah.
And have we had any further pushback from this or
No,
unhappy campers?
we really spent a lot of time initially trying to sort this out, trying to figure out how to accommodate as many families as we possibly could. And the more we got into it, the better we defined the process. And so now I feel like we have great criteria to reference for next spring as we roll into this. And I'm hoping, as Jeannie said, that maybe this one child on the wait list will still have an opportunity to get in. And I'm also thinking, as Jeannie said, that with all of the media, social media coverage on pre-K and conversation in the community, that it is likely that probably most of our families have registered at this time. So I'm hopeful that we were able to accommodate them all.
And I think it's helpful that now we have a process and it will not be a surprise again.
Right.
So now it's very clear.
And is there any way, so let's say that if there was 20 people on the waiting list, what would the conversation look like then?
For this fiscal, we are not financially able to add another classroom. Certainly if we had a wait list of 20, then we hope to begin budget conversations early on. Lauren led an amazing budget process this school year through tough fiscal times, and with all that being done, we know that moving into the next fiscal, we will likely have some challenges ahead of us, so we'll start talking earlier, and that will be one of the needs on the table.
So the community conversation has to happen, in December is when we have to start saying, hey, if you, for 1920, right? I'm just thinking about how we need to know before the budget and how do we get that message out to the community.
I'm also thinking there's some preliminary planning too, because as we look at the district, it's pre-K-12. So again, I think we should just say that that is potentially an item on the table, as there are other pre-K-12 needs on the table. And then as we look district-wide, to sift that out and say, if there's a possibility to have that other classroom, that's a priority, as are some other things, and just prioritize those needs. And certainly put the feelers out earlier next year to see what those potential numbers could be.
Typically for pre-K, we have families who would prefer some of the local agencies or prefer to keep their kids home. And so if cohorts are running 75 to 80, then being able to have 54 is a pretty solid number. That's a good percentage.
That pre-K seems like the trickiest one, because if it's December and you're like, I don't know what we're going to do next year, depends on, because that age and development is so tricky. You don't know what's going to be best for it.
I think you do find, though, a lot of families plan a couple of years in advance. So I know I did for my own children. We certainly heard that from some families that thought that they may not be able to get their child into pre-K this year, and they had said, we've been planning on this for 2 years. And really, when you're looking at daycare for an infant or a toddler, people are planning a couple of years in advance, and often children are on a wait list for some time. So I think it's common practice when you're trying to place a child that young. So I think putting out the feelers earlier next school year, we'll find out just what that need is.
And I think people will err on the side of registering their child and then in July saying, you know what, they're not ready. But I think if we start the registration process earlier, like you're talking, I think that's a good idea.
Any other questions or comments, concerns? Okay. Mr. King, would you like to give your last student report of the year?
We had a wonderful senior trip that returned yesterday afternoon. I'm still a little tired after doing 2 a.m. camp circles, but the kids were fantastic, very well behaved. They all had a great time. The senior class, we had a solid 3/4 of the class go on the trip, which I think is the most in terms of percentages that we've ever had participate in this annual trip to Camp Gorham. The weather was perfect. The fish were not biting, but otherwise, it was, I think, a good time was had by all. Today was a good last day of classes. Seniors did their annual parade, and they all stayed in their cars safely with seatbelts on. They just honked their horns a lot. So it was a good parade, and our local police were here to just make sure everybody drove safely. And it was a good last day of school. We start Regents exams tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock with the English Regents, and then they will be off and running. So we are pretty solid on our graduation counts. We have a couple of stragglers at the end that we will be dragging across the finish line, but we hope to have a very solid graduation rate again this year.
Well, great, thank you.
Oh, I should say, I'm sorry, you gave me the opportunity. I think this is definitely sort of an ad that's really important. We had 3 athletes participate in the state championships of track and field. Sorry, I'm still a little sleepy. That should be the first thing on my list. We had a junior, Josiah Lopez, finished 6th in the state for the long jump. Evan Whitaker finished 3rd in the state in the steeplechase. And Dominic McCullough won the state championships in pole vault, finished in 1st place, setting for the 3rd or 4th time this season a new school record. And he won at 15 feet in the pole vault, which tops, when you go back, he and Jack Murphy last year set the school record at 14 feet. And going to go back and see when that record was set previously is going back, I think, to the 80s. So we've had a handful of really amazing pole vaulters, but Dominic just took the school record up by a solid foot this year. So last year he and Jack were tied with a record of 14 feet, and this year they're at 15 feet. It's now 15.
That's great.
So it was a great weekend for our athletes as well. And then I met up with their parents halfway between the camp and the state championship so that they could finish and join the senior trip for the last night. So it was fun.
Good. Great. That's great news. Thank you very much. Consent agenda, are there items that members would like to have pulled out and addressed individually, or are we good with the entire consent agenda as presented? Okay. Hearing none, motion for approval of the consent agenda as presented?
Second.
Second. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Acceptance of donation. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education for the Trumansburg Central School District hereby accepts the donation of $1,500 from Kathy Bond to the Chris Bond Memorial Fund for scholarships to 2 graduating high school seniors. Motion. Second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. What a great way to honor Chris's memory. Truly a great teacher and coach. So, and 2 very fortunate graduating seniors. So. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Acceptance of donation. The ladies left a little too soon. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education for the Trumansburg Central School District hereby accepts the donation of $1,000 from the Trumansburg Central School District Foundation to the high school science program to purchase an air quality egg as presented. Second? Questions?
What is an air quality egg?
It's actually, I know I've attended several of the foundation meetings, and this has been a piece of conversation for a long time. I think it's quite a bit more costly than this, but it is a device, and it's an instrument that students will use to collect readings of air quality in the classroom. So it's interactive and quite interesting, I guess.
Okay.
That's all I know about the egg.
If you're an egg, no pun intended.
The correct answer is I have no idea.
With it?
I was going to say, the correct answer is I have no idea. Because
yeah, they've been talking
it's
about it
in
for a while.
environmental science and they do really cool stuff.
I think they actually wanted multiple eggs, but they're costly, so we'll get one.
Well, once again, we thank the foundation for their generous donation to the district to help support our programs.
We'll just have to hatch a new plan.
Yes, we will. Okay, before this deteriorates any further, those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries with our gratitude. Thank you. Open forum. At this time, we'd like to give our audience another opportunity to ask any questions about this agenda or about operations within the school district. Personnel matters will not be addressed in public. Comments may be recorded and responded to by the Board of Education or the superintendent within 24 to 48 hours. We ask that you introduce yourself to the board, state if you are a district resident, and that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Any takers this time around? Hearing none. Move to board forum. Anyone have? Okay.
And just prior to that, Gary, I'd like to add something. I'd like to thank Lauren for her service. She's wrapping up her interim year as school business administrator, and I just want to thank her for the expertise that she's offered our district. She's certainly, as I said earlier, carried us through a difficult budget season and offered us all sorts of expertise in the process, so we wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of the board also. And this is just to sail through, so we especially appreciate your expertise and your help. Thank you.
That's the response to the
Okay, so for the current board members retreat. We have 2 dates, June 27th, June 28th. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that said the 28th, 4 that said the 27th, and on the 27th, Michelle has not responded and Sarah has not responded, so.
We
you could-
respond, we just can't make it.
Oh, you can't make
Yeah,
it,
those
I'm
are the-
sorry,
yeah,
gotcha,
those are the-
okay. So, do we have,
Jane can't make the 28th.
okay.
That's why she's blank. So when it's blank.
Blank, it just means,
they can't
okay.
make it.
So,
And I'm out of town.
and you're out of
On
town.
fire time.
Oh, okay, that's why, okay.
So, well, Sarah can't make it the other day. I should probably not be included in that decision, you know, whether I can make it or not, just because it seems more important for, so it's your choice, Jane or Sarah.
Oh, good. Oh, and the times that we're looking at are in the afternoon, 2 to 4 on this. Well, I feel it would be important to have, I mean, how do we choose? We're splitting the baby in half here. I am not Solomon.
Is that a saying? The reason we said June was because it was sort of in the realm of our service still. So if I can't make that week and I'm screwing up the way that this is being calculated in the first place, maybe there's another week. I don't know. Tina, is that okay with that? To try to put out another thing?
I can put out another, you'll have to respond quickly once I put it out, or pull your calendars out right now and set it.
It was meant
Well, Sarah
within
Joanna.
juniors. So.
Yeah.
And then what about, this is just for the old set, and the new
Yes.
set, there's another thing
Yes,
happening. Okay.
yes, that date is already set as July 2nd. So. Any thoughts,
Is there a
people?
way to make a decision here?
Yes.
Not
Hold
without
it down?
Joanna and Sarah, though.
Yeah.
Well,
not.
right, obviously, right. But as
If
far
you
as
want to
that,
pick some
like,
dates
if
and
you,
throw it out,
right.
you tell me.
Are you?
Well, my issue is I'm babysitting
Right, you're
in
gone.
Seattle,
Oh.
so I'm gone.
So you guys are looking
yeah.
at like next week if you do it.
Oh, right. Which
Next
is
week
not
or
doable.
into July, and that's not right.
Yeah.
Well, just wanted to remove that variable.
What about like a midnight to 4 a.m.? That only works for Jane.
I'm fine, that's a medical
Right, yeah.
issue, I can't change that.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't feel as though I've been rejected if you meet without me, because I can.
Sarah does.
Yeah, let's, okay. So let's then meet on the 28th, June 28th, which is a Thursday from 2 to 4 in the district office?
I'll send
Okay.
out an invite.
All right. And then Jen, you can make sure that we get together and maybe with one other member. You're welcome, thank you. Any other things for the good of the order? Super eval is open for you to access and do your evaluation. So if you would attend to that as quickly as possible, that would be helpful.
Is there a due date?
I don't believe that there is.
I think we should make one, because then people will do that.
Okay. So,
Over email, so everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be.
So, if we're meeting on the 28th, then, so let's put it to that Monday, the 25th.
Sure.
So if you have it completed by June 25th, that will give us time to pull that data together and,
And you can send an email telling.
yes, I will do that. Okay, anything else?
Thank you, Douglas, again.
Thank you both to Douglas and Michelle, thank you.
My offer still stands about if there's a committee that you want me to, you know, I haven't been the best at attending community meetings, but
We appreciate
if
all
there's,
the
if there's like the community engagement or the policy or, you know, just keep me in mind. still want to do something.
Okay, great. We would very much appreciate that.
It's not, it's unprecedented in some ways, that involvement.
We like breaking precedent. That's good.
We can make policy.
Anything else? I have a motion to adjourn then?
So,
Second?
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We're officially adjourned.